Paul Murray is our Sky News host, of course, who follows us here every night at 9 o'clock in the Man Cave. Joins us now. I've heard a rumour about you, Mr.
What's
Murray.
this one now?
You're on a junket to Darwin to let off firecrackers.
No. We, of course, every month go around Australia and do our bit for regional tourism.
Please.
And this month we are going to Darwin. It just so happens that our show is on the 2nd of July. And obviously it takes a bit of time to get over the jet lag. So we'll be arriving a day early for Territory Day, where citizens from near and far can let off as many fireworks as they want between 6 p.m. and midnight. No problems.
I love how you go through the calendar and you go V8's Townsville, Cracker Night, Darwin. You're a master at it. Oh, dear.
Well, I learned from the best. I learned from the best. I learned from you that if there's not a rod in it, then what's the point?
Exactly. Speaking of crackers, I'm off to Japan shortly.
Yes.
For a week, speaking about junkets. You can buy firecrackers in hardware stores in Japan. And the little town that I go to, and I've been going there on a regular basis with a group of mates of mine, and we bought so many crackers one year that the local community council banned Gaijin, as in white men, from going into the hardware shop to buy crackers. And when we went in, they said, no more.
Well, look, I'm not suggesting that I'm planning to let off as many as I possibly can, but I'm going to the Territory with my entire family, taking my dad as well, and I'm not coming back for a week, so Caleb will be in charge of the show, but that's not because there will be, a surplus amount of gunpowder that's going to take a week to wash off, but I'll do my best for you. Did you see today in the NT News, there's a bunch of environmentalists who would like to cancel Cracker Night on Territory Day?
Oh. Yeah.
Of course, because of those evil and awful emissions. Look, if you've never been to the Territory, it is the last free place left. Regional Queensland's pretty close, and I know that there's, I think there's a bit of Tasmania you can do this in, but this has got to be bucket list stuff, where we all remember whatever Cracker Night was in our youth. Well, this can happen for your kids, your grandkids, or more importantly, just you and your mates. Head up. I mean, think of the ultimate golfing journey, any excuse, but there's still a few days, there's still plenty of flights. 1st of July, go there. You can buy as many as you want between midday and 6 p.m. and you let them off between 6 p.m. and midnight. And tomorrow night, I'm very pleased to say that we will be unveiling the official Paul Murray firecracker that has been developed by the good people of Fusion Fireworks and will be available for us to detonate on Saturday night. I'm blowing my own face off.
I can't wait for that. Can you bring me back a box and I'll hide them away and sneak them out one night when we've got a celebration on. Talking about celebrations, the man that you describe very nicely as Grim Jim Chalmers, he was out doing a victory lap today saying, hey, guess what? We're going to have another surplus and it's all down to my government. Have a listen to Grim Jim today.
Yeah, I think both governments acknowledge that there are a lot of people doing it tough, and we've got a responsibility to take some of the edge off these cost of living pressures where we can, so that we can invest and spend money where it's desperately needed, which is cost of living help, investing in the future, at the same time as we get the budget on a much more sustainable footing.
Who's buying that?
No one, because don't forget his very own budget. And don't you remember the weeks and weeks and weeks of preparing for the budget? It fell like a stone because, OK, there's a sugar hit thanks to mining and company taxes this year, but then we go into deeper deficit, deeper debt. So what is the footing he's talking about? It's a one-off sugar hit. And remember, one of the key reasons they're able to get to a surplus is because after a fiddle of the books, they are now allowed to count the profits of the future fund, the thing that Peter Costello's been taking care of all these years, which is to pay for the superannuation of public service workers. Well, that's got a healthy profit. For the first time ever, that is now counted, and that's how they get to a surplus. If Josh Frydenberg had been allowed to do that, we would have had one 4 years ago.
You and I move around in real places and look at what's being purchased and bought. And we had Jerry Harvey today even saying that the Harvey Norman sales are going to go down. People bought a lot of big screen TVs during COVID because they were locked up in their houses by lunatics like Daniel Andrews. But that spending stopped. No one I know and I'm old, so maybe old blokes like me don't buy new clothes, but no one's buying clothes or shoes. No one's, buying new stuff for their kitchen. People have stopped. If you speak to any small business person or any bloke who owns a big business, they'll tell you, Paul, the economy has stopped.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because, of course, there are the people that are at the end of the market that have got enough cash that it doesn't matter. These people are called teals, or people that are racking it up on credit cards. Yesterday, there was some numbers that came out from Finder, and they said that the average Australian personal debt, not counting what you're paying off at your house, is $20,000. That's up from what was $18,000 12 months ago. So if you're buying anything, you're putting it on your credit card. As Jerry and Katie said today, they're doing pretty well. They're still doing very well on the profit front because they run such a great business. But the numbers are starting to pull back a bit because, as you say, we've had the splurge and now people are concerned. And I love today the spin. And the people in the press gallery who just eat this stuff up, these were the people that would have been screaming at Josh Frydenberg or any other Liberal treasurer. They just sort of take the garbage from Grim Jim today, is that, inflation is slightly down, but it's still up on where we were 12 months ago. There are things like power bills that are up 15% on where they were last year. So despite their promise of dealing with the cost of living, that was their central promise going into the last election. We're a third of the way through the term. 70-something% of people say it's the number one issue, but it's not what they talk about. So to me, I just think that there's going to be a reckoning coming. It'll be fascinating to see in the Fadden by-election whether this becomes, as all by-elections do, an actual test for the government. But given some of the nonsense that's around today, and I'll talk about this in greater detail at the top of the hour, some of the tricks the Labor Party's trying to pull, they think they can win that seat like they won the Aston one, and that'll spell some serious trouble for Peter Dutton if that happens. But there are certain things that are pointing well and truly that the good people of the Gold Coast have got a chance to get a pair of Blundstones and kick the government as hard as they can. I hope they do.
I look forward to hearing that after 9. Just the other thing I can tell you about in Darwin, when I was up there a few years back, I witnessed something that I don't think you could see anywhere else in the world, which is a wrestling match in a wrestling ring where they had the wrestlers wrestling and they threw in mud crabs that were chasing them around the ring with huge claws trying to grab hold of them. Only Darwin.
Fantastic. Honestly, if you get the chance, and look, I know that there's been plenty of stories about the problems of crime and all the rest of it, and tourism starting to fall off as a result. Most of Darwin, and certainly the touristy bits of Darwin, you're going to be okay. The same with Alice Springs, certainly during the day. But it is the Wild West in the far north. It's so worth celebrating and doing, but honestly, we've got to help out our fellow Aussies via those small businesses that are struggling, because if we don't keep moving around our own country, if we don't invest in seeing our own country, well, then all the little places like that you remember won't be there when you've eventually got enough cash to go and see them.
Yeah, well said. It's a fantastic part of the world. Good on you, mate. Have a great trip.